everyone to Let's Talk Business episode 5. Hi, I'm Meghna, your host for the evening, and I have with me Yashasvi. So, before we begin with today's episode, here's a little recap of what we talked last week because these two episodes are interrelated. So, last week we spoke about gender inclusivity at work, and it involved conversations, activities, initiatives that as professionals we need to do our parts to make it an inclusive workspace. And today we are going to be talking about breaking the glass ceiling. And yes, it's not just about one gender. We are going to be talking from the perspective of professionals, but we are going to be focusing on the challenges that are faced. So, good evening again for those who just joined us. I'm Meghna, a little bit brief about myself. So, I'm a public speaker with about 1,000 plus hours of public speaking experience, a published author, IT enthusiast who's now ushered into the field of finance and accounting. I have worked with SMEs, MNCs on freelance projects on consulting basis. So I have a bird's eye view of what work culture in different scenarios in countries and cultures looks like. And I have with me Yashasvi Reddy. So for our new listeners, Yashasvi, if you could give us a brief introduction, please. Over to you.
Hey, good evening, Meghna. Good evening to all the new listeners and the old ones as well who are revisiting us and have joined this session. Yes, as Meghna said, this session is going to be even more interesting because today we're going to be talking about breaking those glass ceilings, breaking those restrictions that we discussed about in the last episode. To give a short brief about myself, hi, I'm Yashasvi Reddy. Namaskaram. I have been in the corporate space for over 10 years now, starting from the role of simple product owner to going into senior director and BB roles. I have worked closely for the past 7 years on different M&A integrations. I have had close to 15 M&A end-to-end integrations, and I've handled teams both in the US, UK, and India. I've been working in India for the past 3 years, where I've coached a number of people to become their best selves and getting to the top 1%, and some of them have gotten jobs both in the UK, Germany, and as well as in the US. So right now I have joined hands with Meghna to host this audio event series where we'll be discussing less talked about topics in the corporate and how we can deal with them and just bring awareness and see how we can deal with it together.
So before we begin today's discussion, there's a disclaimer that we both like to give in general. That is that we are not here in capacity of activists or somebody who's promoting any kind of activism. We are here in capacity of professionals who want better workplace environments for professionals and would like to help professionals further go along in their career and grow in their career. And with that note, we'll discuss the very first scenario of today, as promised, would is one that includes a little bit from what we discussed in our last episode and something that we want to discuss today. And the scenario I'm going to share with you is something like this. So, a friend of mine at a very senior position, a VP position, a woman, was invited to be a guest speaker in one of the prestigious MBA colleges in Mumbai. They asked her to come and speak at the event. When she inquired, what am I supposed to speak about? So they said, we need you to be on the panel because we need to be inclusive. They very directly came up and said, we need to be inclusive. And she said, okay, but what is your discussion about? And they said that, we are into instrumentation and control. But she said, I have never worked in that field. My arena has been manufacturing, marketing, and sales. And now sustainable, cars and EVs. So how come I'm the one you are inviting? Why not somebody who's worked into instrumentation and control? And the very prompt and direct reply was that, ma'am, we don't know anyone. And that's when she came back to me in a casual discussion and said, you know what, I felt bad. I declined it and I felt bad because they couldn't find a single woman who's done well in that arena. That's not possible with the kind of population base India has, with the kind of progress we've already made. So the first question I put to Yashasvi today is, last time we talked about inclusivity. So here's someone who's trying to be inclusive, but in a very wrong way. So do you think we are going wrong somewhere in trying to be inclusive? Are we disrespecting someone who has worked hard in their own field and come up with their own struggles?
That's a very good situation. I think that's something that we haven't discussed in the last episode. So, are they being inclusive? I would question that premise. They say they're inclusive, but I don't think they are. They're doing a lip service. It's as good as saying after a fight, you're saying sorry just so you can say at a later phase that you were the first one to say sorry. That doesn't count. So I would even question their premise and say, are they being inclusive in the first place? Having said that, is that still a platform, a stage, a position that we could make use of to bring that women are present in this industry as well? Yeah. So could that be handled a different way? Very well, yes. Of course, that communication narrative could be better on both sides of the dialogue. From the person itself, he could have asked, yes, I don't know anybody. Is there somebody that you could recommend? or the person declining it could have said, I'm not the right person for it, but here is a list of people whom you can contact, or here is a directory where you can go and contact these people, and one of them might be having somebody who could who could very well be in that industry to speak about and to be worthy of that stage. I think it goes back in a level, Meghna, where we are missing that community building or that empowerment within the women, where yeah, we are all new, as I said, we are all breaking the glass ceiling, and this generation of women who are making it big in each of their individual and unique fields are also coming up as an exception, because it's not the normalcy. So I think somewhere this is a great opportunity for us, as well as a learning experience, where we need to create a community or phone book directory of sorts, of some way of connecting all these women and saying, when this sort of event comes, who is the best person that I can direct them to, so they have the right platform and the right stage to speak up. And this goes both ways. This is not just for women, it is also for men who are on this odd fields which has been dominated by women primarily, and now they're trying to make their mark. It goes both ways.
Yeah, that's very interesting how you bring up. Because had it been a man instead of her, he would have immediately given a reference, which she missed. I say she's my friend, even though she missed that point. And why we miss it? Because during our hustle years, what we've seen is that for the same action, there is a different judgment for different genders. So this is another point that we need to discuss now. That why is it that even though the workplace scenario is the same for both genders, the same action is not received in the same manner by the senior management, by the teams even. Why do you think that is, Yashasvi?
So that is very true. And again, it's not just restricted to women. It's about how you, what their perception of you is. For example, I have seen people where they look down upon somebody whom they thought would never achieve something great, and when they did achieve something great, or they got the bonus, they got the appreciation from them, from their senior management, they almost look at it as a condescending way, as a one-off thing that could be neglected, almost as if, yeah, this is just one time thing, we'll see. Even to the extent of countries, right? I don't know. I think now that India is coming up in the space arena and we are doing very, very well, that dialogue must have changed, that narrative hopefully changed. And you know what? I take that back. I just saw a video today where that narrative is still being held into position. So there was a time when India released 200 satellites at once into space. And I was at that time in the US handling a project with many of my colleagues. And suddenly somebody came up and said, oh, India, I saw that India did this. And I was like, yeah, I'm very proud of it. And then they said, it's only until the next country does 300 satellites. That's it, right? That's all they need to do. So I do not agree that this only goes to a female or male gender. It's about all underdogs, right? In general, where we suffer from this double standards, if you can call it, and it's more relevant right now for women, because in the corporate you see more of women trying to struggle and trying to come up to the space. But trust me, it's everywhere. It's in all circles, and the only way to get behind it is to make our way, to stand our voice, to make our voice heard, and to speak up, and not be afraid of all these dialogues of what anybody else is thinking. Is when you do your things right, speak up. If something is wrong, then get a mentor, get a coach who can tell you what went wrong and guide you in the right pathway. If it's taking longer, then get guidance. If it's something that you are struggling to know how to do, then get the right mentor and keep going. No matter what, keep moving forward, so that one day you'll be able to say that, yeah, I've gotten past all that, and now people look at me as somebody that they can trust, that they can inspire, that can inspire others, and they no longer have these gender bias against me.
Yeah, so that's a great point, that it's about both the genders. Like we said in the introduction, we are here to champion for professionals who want to break the glass ceiling. So I would like to involve our very, very dear audience at this moment and ask the audience a question. Has there ever been a point in your professional career until now where you have done a lot of work and still felt like you were not visible, like nobody cared about the struggle that you have done or the work you have done? If you have felt like this ever, just give us a reaction so we know that we are hitting the pain point right, or else we'll move the discussion to other pain points. So as expected, quite a few reactions. Thank you, dear audience, for being so responsive, because if you are interactive, it's easier for us to discuss the relevant points that actually help you. So in that context, let's move forward and let's discuss the other issue that comes up. Yashasvi, this is a very prominent issue, and in our previous episodes as well, we have discussed this issue where we talked about self-advocacy a lot. So now this again comes when you talk about breaking the glass ceiling. There's this discussion around the recognition part of your hustle or your struggle, and individuals kind of are not able to put forth what they did even when they are at a certain position. Why is it so difficult for someone who's reached a certain position after a certain hustle and still not be in that self advocacy mode? Because you can't break glass ceilings and join those bigger conversation tables without having this self advocacy in you. Am I right?
Self-fabrication is very, very important for everybody, no matter where you are, especially when you're going to when you're scaling, when you're climbing the ladder, quote unquote climbing the ladder, or you want to get to any positions. Like, you have to be your own champion, because if not, 100 people will tell you how you did wrong or where you went wrong. It's not needed. Only you can be a judge of yourself, because you know where you started and you know how far you've gone. Yes, there can be guides, there can be patterns, there can be people who can guide you, but you don't need an opinion of 100 people, and they shouldn't matter to you at all. So self-advocation is very, very important for no matter where you start. But getting back to your point, Meghna, about how or why this tug of war happens, if I may say so. The tug of war bias, where we are judging against ourselves in pursuit of recognition from somebody else, or in a way that somebody else can might say something, so why at all speak up? And a very good example of this that I've also given in some of my masterclasses is where you have a brilliant idea and you've thought about it, you've made a presentation about it, and you want to bring up that idea because you have the knowledge of the product that you want to sell, or the thing that you want to bring up, and say that this is what is necessary. I know how to make it happen. And yet in that meeting with your stakeholders, with your partners, with your C-level executives, you're not able to bring it up because you've just seen 5 minutes before your manager or senior manager being knocked down on an idea of his or hers. And then you get this feeling of, what if they knock me down as well? What if my idea is not good enough? And that moment, if you wait on that and think about that, that is where everything falls apart, right? So in that moment, you need to take away the judgments that you are bringing up to yourself and just do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule, do it. Just do it, and whatever comes out of it is going to be a learning. If they agree to it, if they have signed up for it, then great, you are right. And if they don't, then you'll definitely learn something new, because then you'll have a conversation at least saying that, where can you explain how can we do this better, or what is important for this project that I've missed? And maybe not in that meeting, but somebody else. So one thing that I do recommend my clients, all of my clients, to do is, when they get to that step of taking that leap, going that mile, or presenting that idea, putting yourself on the spot, just 5 to 10 seconds before that, make your mind blank. Do not let any thought except for encouragement come into your mind. If anything else is coming, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. That's all. And
I agree on the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 principle. It's been working for me for a while now as well. So yes, even I would second that. When in doubt, you should go with this and just take that leap of faith. And it's like you said, Yashasvi, it's very important. It's that you advocate for what you've done and you have that confidence and you own that space. And it also works from the other end. So what if I am at a senior management position and one of my team members is actually trying to come up the ladder and move ahead, and they want my support? Now, what has been traditionally been observed is that if there is a male manager and there's a male team member trying to, get up or grow in their professional career, they get that support. Like how we say the tribe pulls the tribe. But, sadly, the numbers for the other gender here, women, it's not the same. For some reason, I have not seen many women pull up women like men pull up men. I might be wrong, and a lot of you might disagree with me, but I'd like to discuss this point and have a conversation around it. So, Yashasvi, what do you have to say regarding this?
So, it's a double-edged sword, Meghna, really. I have seen both things happen. See, as human beings, we are attracted to our own tribe. So, I do not, yes, are there male colleagues being promoted more when there's a domination in the male population in the corporate? Yes, definitely. But they're also looking out for women employees. And I think I call it a double-edged sword, especially for this reason, because I have also been a senior leader, and I have also been pulled up by a male manager who saw the potential in me, who saw the ambition in me, who mentored me, and took me to that position and made sure that I was doing well in whatever I was doing. Having said that, it is also true in case of female executives, where we try to encourage our employees, our direct reports, to take on new positions, new roles. It's also the question of personal versus professional boundaries, which comes into play. Thankfully, for some of us, we handle it well, or we attempt to handle it well, and we have clear demarcations as to say that this is who I am personally, and this is who I am professionally. I want to go forward in both positions and into how much ever extent I can. So I'm not giving priority to one over the other. That's a very minute population, I would say. Especially in their 20s, I think women today are mostly single in their 20s, so they are able to put in that extra effort, extra work into their professional career, where they're able to establish themselves as professionals, as ambitious professionals who want to scale up, who want to get to the top position in the fastest ways possible. That unfortunately wasn't so relevant or prevalent during the millennials or Gen Y situation, where you will look down. I think people like exemplary figures like Indira Nui or Sudha Murthy, they talk about it a lot, where it is a sacrifice, it is a balance. And even Mrs. Obama talks about it a lot in her book as well, Lean In, where she says parenting or even life is not balanced. It's about how and what priorities you take. So what I see in the corporate for most of the women who are not willing to take that risk is they are somehow sacrificing and saying that, and I have faced this personally, where they said that, no, we are okay with where our life is. We have small babies. We need to take care of them. So right now it's okay. Maybe in the future I will look at going somewhere else and doing something more. But right now I have to give attention to my family. So when that happens, it creates a division, because the same male counterparts might not have the same restrictions, especially in the Indian subcontinent, where it's still a majorly patriarchal society. They can still move forward without having that break in their careers. So that could be one of those reasons that I see. Having said that, that scenario is changing, where I encourage both the male and the female counterparts to take equal contribution in their both personal and professional boundaries, and give their spouse the ability and the opportunity to do what they want to do, and to both, especially in their professional scenarios.
Yeah, so from where I see it, if I have to sum up, if you are a professional with an ambition, in your 20s, you need to work towards that ambition with all your heart. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you need to show that you are interested in going somewhere. So a lot of people are not ambitious, and that's absolutely okay. So I think there's the double-edged sword here, or maybe, the other side, flip side, whatever you'd like to call it, could be that the women who are working, some of them are not as ambitious as the others, but there is this peer pressure of having to grow up because you are working. So it can be that you're comfortable working and, giving time to your family, and you're just okay with the situation. And we are not here for those, we are not judging anyone. We are saying that if you are one of them, it's absolutely all right. You need to be comfortable in what you want. But if you are someone who is looking at going ahead faster, like Yashasvi said, the faster than most, and be somewhere at a certain point, then you need to do that something extra and come up with. And you need to create your support system and build your executive presence, which brings me to the next question, that how important is executive presence when it comes to breaking glass ceilings, Yashasvi? Do you think it is important? And if it is important, then when should one start building it, and how to go about it?
Oh, definitely. I think we need to first talk about what sort of executive presence we are discussing here. So executive presence can be in many layers, right? It could be how you're trying to dress up, how you're trying to be presentable in a situation, and all of this. So I would say over here, especially in this discussion in this context, we are going beyond the surface. So we're talking about breaking the stereotypes and focusing on building a presence that goes beyond the appearances. It's not just about how well groomed you are, how have you done your eyebrows, have you done your hair is neat and all of that. Not just that, but how are you able to project your confidence without making it come across as arrogance? How are you being authoritative without being dominating? Or how are you leading not through authority, but through authenticity and influence? And that was irrespective of societal norms. It doesn't matter who is in front of you, how they associate themselves, who they are, but are you able to look at them for their work and not just of who they are, what they bring to the table? Are they from the same community, same gender, same anything? So executive presence goes into a lot of things, and this is from the perspective of a leader. Now let's take it from the perspective of somebody who wants to go to that position, who wants to become that person, become an executive. How should your body language be? How should you be? Apart from, again, I'm not discussing the basics of how groomed you should be, or how you should, present yourself, or how you should walk and do all of that. Those are the basic things. So I'm talking about how organized are you in your thoughts and how well are you able to articulate your ideas in fewer words. I can say the same thing in 15 minutes, or I could say the same thing in 5 minutes. And that essentially is the difference between your whether you will scale up or not. Because no executives has the time to spend 15 minutes of their time on you on presenting one idea. How are you able to bring it down to 2-3 points into one slide, into one idea, and take up 5 minutes of their time? We are fast decision makers, so how are you able to present it in a shorter span of time? How are you able to strategically place yourself into the right meetings? And are you leaning forward? Are you showing interest? Are you able to keep that balance within yourself, where you only speak up when it's needed and you make the right point? Even if it's one single point, you are precise, clear, and to the point, that everybody values you and sees that you are somebody who knows what they're talking about.
So thanks, Yashasvi, for that an insight on building executive presence. I would like to welcome those people who've just joined in. And today we are talking about breaking the glass ceiling for professionals. And it includes both the genders, unlike this topic is usually taken to be. We are here to champion for professionals. And that brings me to this small addition that I would like to do for what Yashasvi just said, is that when you start building your executive presence, most of us think that we need to be in the mid senior position to actually go around and start building up on this. But what I feel from my personal experience is this, that the day you start working is the day you start actually building your executive presence. And this is one of the reasons where most mid senior professionals actually lack, because when they start, it's just a bit too late. And there are others in the race who are already working on themselves with such passion and with such consistency that you are somewhere left behind. And so if you are trying to be someone who's focused, who knows where they are going, who knows what their ambition is truly, then you must start working on it very early on, because you have that clarity. So make use of that clarity. And now we'll move on to one of more discussed on topics really, but subtextual in most discussions. That being that a lot of women are not very comfortable taking risks or taking decisions that have financial risk implication. Now, Yashasvi, do you think this is one of the major reasons why, especially women and even men who are not comfortable in decision making, somewhere lose out, in this let's call it race towards the big table? Is it a factor that is actually looked at?
Give an example. I don't think I'm clear on the question itself.
So for instance, I'm a senior manager, and I am supposed to take care of this project, which has a financial implication of the company for millions of dollars. Now, there are certain decisions that I need to make and I need to be accountable for. But if as a senior manager or even as a mid-level manager, I'm not taking that accountability. I'm trying to find someone senior to me. I'm trying to find someone in my team who takes or makes that decision for me. Then how am I projecting myself? Am I projecting myself confident enough to be on the board with the big people? Is it a factor? Is decision making or taking risks a factor that is considered by the senior management before they bring you on the big table, is my question.
Decision making is definitely a factor. Having said that, so how many of you, for the audience itself, how many of you, when you take an interview, when you get an interview call, especially when you're working for the US or even over here, how many of you have been into multiple rounds of interviews, at least 3 to 4, before you get the job? And I hear this is most common in especially in MNCs, but I could be wrong, where you have a HR interview, a team interview, a manager part 2 interview, and then something else. There are almost 4 to 5 rounds, and after that it's exhausting, right? Even after that, you don't know whether you actually got the job or not. I see a few hands up. So what's happening there is no one decision maker wanting to make that decision, wanting to take that risk of hiring a candidate, because it's a huge investment for the company to invest in that person, for the onboarding of that person, and then to bet on that person that he'll stay with the company for 2 years until they can reap the benefits out of him or her, and then have them do the work that they need to do for which they were employed. This is the amount of struggle that goes on. Is it needed? Absolutely not. So when I first came into India and I took over the branch here and I started running it, and people were here were used to 3 or 4 rounds in interviews, this was something that baffled the hell out of me as to why you need 3 to 4 people telling you why that candidate is a good member on your team. You as a manager should be able to make that decision yourself. You should be able to bet on that person yourself. If not, then why the hell are you that manager? If you don't have the confidence in your own teams, then there's no point. So after I came, I took it to maximum two rounds because that was the basic that HR needed. So this is what I'm getting to is irrespective of where you are, in which leadership position you are, whether you're a manager, whether you're a team member, whether you are a high performer, or whichever level of the management level you are, you should be able to own your decisions. It's not because you are right, it's because no matter what the outcome is, you are able to go with it. If it's right, then great, you've built up your capacity of say making the right decisions. If not, that's an opportunity for you to let the team members know that you are not going to give it up just because it went wrong. You're going to sit with it until you can make it right. And I think it's one of the famous lines by Mr. Ratan Tata. You make a decision first and then you see how to make it right. If that's not the confidence that you have as a manager, then there is a huge question mark that me as a senior manager or me as a senior executive will have over you, saying that have you accepted your role? Have you accepted your role of a manager? Have you accepted your role as a mentor, as a guide, who's not only able to guide his team members, but is able to bet on himself or herself? That is how much a decision-making skill is that much more important.
So clearly, with great power comes great responsibility. That's a very famous and very popularly known quote, and it kind of even fits here. So it doesn't, I mean, a lot of people go after the power, the position, the role, but they somehow forget the accountability. And I think that's a place where a lot of women shy away from, because maybe traditionally they are not brought up in that mindset of having to take risky decisions and, letting them be wrong. That the failure part is a bit too much of a risk for them than compared to their male counterparts, who maybe even don't have a choice. Which brings me to our next.
No, it's also
wanted to add.
It's also about the way they are perceived, right? How they are perceived and how that narrative is being spread across is also very different when it comes. See, a male counterpart can be looked at as oh, he tried but he didn't get it, or he would get it but we need more support the next time. A male counterpart could be said he's assertive, whereas a female making the same decision could be said as aggressive. So again, it's not just a male or a female that I want to bring up. It's more about how submissive and how assertive you are. If you've traditionally been the submissive employee who says, oh, I don't know if I'm wrong or right, but this is one idea that I had, or I'm sorry, I'm breaking up this meeting, but this is something that I want to bring up. So if you've traditionally come up with this attitude of, I am unsure, I have no confidence, or I don't know whether to speak up or not, I don't know if my idea is good enough or not, you can be sure that when you are aggressive or you want to bet on yourself, you're going to get that pushback. Because you have created a situation for yourself where you're saying that I'm not confident, but suddenly you want to shift that into saying that I am now shameless and I'm going to be aggressive because this is something that I completely believe in. It's nothing wrong that you're doing. It's exactly the right step to do. But what I want you to embrace is you are going to get that pushback. It only means that you're on the right track and you have to be pushing forward.
So again, you just have to own your space, your work, your confidence, and be out there and tell people that you know what decision you are trying to make, and be in control of the situation, like we said. And now we come to the next and a very important point of discussion, especially for men, because this has been discussed for women a lot. They have, earlier the conversations are like, having it all. Are you having it all? How are you balancing it all? These questions are put up to women who succeed. And then the conversation and the narrative change towards being said that, you never ask a man this question. So why do you want to ask a woman who has been successful this question? But now they are asking men as well, the men who actually want it all and who want to balance and give more time to their personal lives are being asked this question as well. And they are maybe more in a fix than women usually are, because they have never been in this kind of spotlight before. So Yashasvi, let's discuss this angle of having it all. Do you think it is worthy of the kind of spotlight it gets as far as work discussions or events like these go?
Why not? Having it all has the same lines of ambition. Where your ambition is can be different. It can be professionally or it can be personally. So again, the pushback will come no matter what. When you're trying to be something different, when you're trying to do something different that the society has not traditionally known or accepted, and you're trying to get into that arena where you are breaking the glass ceiling as such, you are going to get pushback. It's a validation for you that you are doing the right thing, and as long as you are confident and you have your values set and you know what you're bringing to the table, it's important that you do the thing. Again, it's not about doing the right thing, it's not about getting it right, it's about a learning opportunity. So the easiest solution is, yes, you are right, and keep pushing back.
Yeah, and I'd like to share a personal example here. In May, I went for a business retreat to India, and my son was with my husband for a week. And the only question when I came back, asked by my family, my friends, in fact, most of them were women, and that was more surprising to me. The question was, how did you leave behind your son? Did he manage? Was your husband able to manage? And my answer was that, look, we both work and we are both equal parents. And if when he travels, my son is comfortable staying with me, why should he not be comfortable staying with his own father? Why is this even a question? And then that would make people think that, yeah, we kind of did ask the wrong question. But the problem is that you are conditioned so much along the lines of, men not being able to balance caregiving responsibilities or not being given time to their personal lives, that if a woman goes out and out and she's a caregiver as well, people start questioning her that what arrangements have you made for your absence? Whereas this should not be a question that should be existing. And it comes back to the point you just said. The conversations that we've had or we are having are not focusing on the right talking points. So we make it a gender issue about men and women, and we forget about the professional human aspect of it.
Very true, very
So
true.
yeah. So yeah, Yasha, if you could share a few tips on how professionals can actually balance their work and family responsibilities, especially when they're gunning for something big in their life or being ambitious. Because you know how they say, when you're at the top, you're alone. So you build your support system on the way. It can't happen overnight, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you need to do it while you are taking that journey.
Yeah,
So
very
if you
true.
could share some personal experience or tips for a lovely audience around this.
Huh, huh, huh. So I'll first share about this particular situation and how, because this is a very important topic that I do want to discuss before I give you an acronym of sorts or something that can, that can benefit both genders and how they can come up with the right kind of attitude and knowledge. So coming back to something that you very importantly discussed, Meghna, where it's about having that judgment as maternity or a paternity leave, where in India especially, I see this more often. In US at least, paternity leave has been the new factor, where men happily take paternity leave to support their wives in supporting the newborn, because traditionally there it's a equal balancing. They don't have their grandparents or aunts and uncles coming and taking care of the kids for 5 to 6 months. That doesn't happen. It's a very, very bizarre situation that they don't understand as to why and how grandparents can spend 6 months of their time in the US supporting the child, and why the parents cannot do it themselves. So unfortunately, that's been something that Indians have been doing, and hopefully that will stop in the near future, because grandparents also have a life here. But traditionally that's been the way that has happened in the US. In India, however, there's still a situation where equal parenting is not very common, and that maternal wall is more applied to mothers, either if they're less competent or if they're more competent. It goes both ways. If they're less competent, the more ambitious women at work look at them in a condescending way. If they're more competent, then the traditional families talk about how they're able to balance. Like, wow, you're traveling a lot for a new mother. Something, right? Some kind of a jab, it happens. And it's true in both cases. I'm sure that just like how you're sharing your views, your husband might also be asked that, oh, you're taking care of the child all by yourself? How very chivalrous about you, or how very nice about you that you are able to doing it yourself without his mother or their mother. Why not? He is their father as well. So I would this is a tug of war bias that we discussed before as well, and it comes into many patterns, many situations, where when somebody is doing something that's out of normal, out of the traditional values, traditional mindset that we are used to, there is always a tug of war that happens, where the society is fighting for you or wanting you to get back into a situation where they consider normal, and you are trying to do something that is true for you, that works for you, and that is right for you in the long run. So in those situations, and for both sets of people on both sides of the rope, please for once do not judge. Number one, it's okay, make an effort to assume what's best for the other person. Even if the person is trying to be more aggressive or have those sharp elbows, resist the urge to judge and see where they come from. Try to have a normal dialogue. If that doesn't work, then yes, there can be a negative response, and then you can go into a lot of things. You can ask, would you have the same reaction if the other gender did this? In a very normal, monotone, objective way. Try getting to that situation. Try resisting that urge. And the second one is, respect each other's experience. You don't know where the other person is coming from, so respect their opinion. Know that there's so many people with so many opinions, and each person can come with their own opinion, with their own experience. So it's okay. It's okay that they have an opinion about you. Whether you need to follow it or not is a totally different case. But it's okay for the other people to have an opinion, and it's okay. Just say, yeah, you can have an opinion, thank you for your opinion, that's great, but this is what I'm going to do. And especially for women or for men who are in the non-traditional industries, collaborate with other women, collaborate with other men, make a community, create a community, go to these events where they're happening, create a network for yourself, so then you will know what is the other person doing, where are they, what are their struggles, and create a community of like-minded people, so you can then go off and do an offsite or build something great, or just talk about what's going on within their spheres, every now and then. Mentoring programs, philanthropy, these are events that I want you to look at as relationship building events, working relationships or positive relationships, which will benefit you in the long run. Trust me on this. So again, repeating them again, do not judge the other person. Never ever judge the other person for whatever they are saying. They are reacting a certain way. It's not in you to react the same way. You can simply take it at face value, see where they're coming from, and just say that that's something that they're doing. Respect one another's opinions. You don't know where the other person is coming from, what have they seen in their pathways, both from a point of the responder and from the reactor. Respect each other's opinions, and you don't have to take it, you don't have to do it, but just respect each other's opinions. And thirdly, but lastly, create and collaborate with like-minded people, with like-minded professionals, doing something different and doing something as exceptional as you are. So you are in that space to collaborate together, to work on it together, to do great things for yourself and for the industry together.
Absolutely. I agree on building the tribe part a lot, because I feel that unless you collaborate with other women who champion you, or even other men, like you mentioned earlier in the conversation today, that you need to have those mentors who bring you up. But that relationship building has to come from you. If you are looking at the bigger picture and you want to reach somewhere, you want to break those barriers and be in charge, you need to collaborate. You can't be the only one growing. It happens with a team, with a support system, and another other women at workplace. So it's very important takeaway that you have to go with today. Whether you're a man or a woman, you need to have your own support system in your organization. You need to collaborate inside and outside your organization. You need to have those people in your life who are going to be supporting you when you make tough calls or tough decisions, or bring about some kind of trailblazing moment in your career. So you are not the only one, and you can't do things in isolation. It is very important that you address these challenges that you get as a man or as a woman, and you break these biases. So there are biases even existing against men, like men who would like to take break from works are not are looked down upon in the same condescending manner like women are who want to go aggressively ahead in their careers. So it's both ways. You might have your own challenges. It's about accepting those challenges, acknowledging them, and working around solutions for them. And one very important solution that has come up in all our previous episodes, and even today, Yashasvi has mentioned, I think, about 3 times, is that you need to start that dialogue. If you do not take that initiative from your end, it's very difficult for someone else to come and help you. You know how they say that you have to start helping yourself for someone to actually come into picture and help you and engage you and encourage you, or advocate you. So the environment will only work when you start working. So if you're clear about your ambitions and where you want to be, then you have to start now on the how of it. Build your executive presence, advocate for yourself, champion yourself, start building on your teams, collaborate like Yasha just mentioned. So it all happens together. You can't just work in isolation and think, you know what, tomorrow you get up and think, I'm going to be the change maker in this organization. It's a good thought, but you have to work towards it. Things don't happen or change overnight. And with that, Yasha, if you have any final comments, please add. Otherwise, let's open the floor to some audience questions.
Yeah, I think we have promised the audience last time that I'm going to give a small acronym so they can, get the outlines of what are we trying to do with the last 2 episodes, and how they can use their, they leverage their confidence and their executive presence to elevate. So, keeping my word, I did have a word, and it's called elevate, where I think we have discussed almost all the points in detail in the last 2 episodes. But for people who would like to have a word or something written on their wall that they can remember by, and go back and think about it, I think this is a good acronym. So elevate is E for educating yourself. Again, know that the other person is coming from a place of their experience. So it's important that you educate yourself before you judge the other person from what they did or what they didn't do, or what they're telling you that you should have done. It all comes with knowing that knowledge is power, and you need to know where they're coming from before you can even react or respond. So educate yourself. Elevate, L is lead by example. Be a trailblazer, as Meghna said. If you want to become a trailblazer, nothing like it. But do know that you're going to have setbacks, and the best cure for that is demonstrate your capabilities again and again. Set high standards for yourself and those around you, and inspire others around you. It's not going to be easy, but that is how you become a leader. That is how you become an exception. Elevate, E, empower others. While you climb, you also need to empower others. You need to show that you are worthy of being the leader. You're worthy of being leading yourself, as well as supporting and mentoring your fellow colleagues, especially those that are a minority within the group. Do support them to the max that you can, without making it a bias against the other gender or other colleagues. V is voice, self advocacy. You need to own your achievements. No matter how good of a leader you are for your team, if you are not championing for yourself, then you're not doing your job. You are not showing up for yourself, and there cannot be a greater sin. This is something that I am adamant with all my clients. From day one, I think we have also given a giveaway a while back about this and how you can document your achievements and speak about it. Voice your achievements, make your one-to-ones the most capable and most rewarding. Elevate, A, advocate for change. Be an advocate for gender equality, for gender bias, gender diversity that's in the workplace. Speak up against this and towards creating an inclusive environment, not just in terms of gender, but also in terms of how people are treating each other. Let's be inclusive about it, and let's be, if you do it and if you are doing what you're saying, then others will follow. Trust me, it will take time, but it'll follow. Remember, you're a trailblazer. T, V-A-T. Take calculated risk. Step out of your comfort zone, and I know people here are all trying to do their best, all trying to do something extra that is not considered, that's uncomfortable for them. And I'm here to say, I'm here to cheer you up and say, yes, you're on the right path. Do it, keep doing it. Tomorrow is a new day. Just keep doing it and take those calculated risks for growth and new opportunities. Trust me, one day they will pay off, and you'll come back and say, yes, Shan, I'm happy that I stuck, and thank you for making me do it, because it did turn out into a great opportunity for me in the long run. And E, elevate. E, embrace authenticity. None of this is possible if you're not being true to who you are, not being true to what values you have and what is it that you bring to the table. I think I've repeated it again and again and again. You knowing what you bring to the table, you owning your space, you being confident about yourself, and you being true to yourself. All of this shows, it builds trust and creates a strong presence. So embrace your uniqueness and let it shine in your leadership style.
Thanks a lot for that acronym, Yasha. I'm sure it'll be very helpful, because it actually sums up, like you said, what we have been discussing in the last episode and today's episode. And with that, I would like to open the floor to the audience. If you have any questions, please raise your hand so that we can bring you in. Okay, Kishore, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, good evening, Meghna. Good evening, Yashasvi. You're doing very good job. The session was very informative. I was just following the last words, like elevate. L is for.
Yasha, can you take that, please?
Yeah, L is for lead by example. So you're a trailblazer, remember?
Okay. Yeah.
Is there another question, Kishore?
From the past 1 hour, I was listening to the conversation. So based on the conversation, just few points I just want to add on what you folks are discussing. You're talking about the parental needs of the children. As per my knowledge, why people ask more about mother's care, right? Like mother's love cannot be given by the father. So that's the reason they always ask mother to take care of the children. So like how mother takes care of the children, father cannot do that. So that is our Indian way of thinking. And coming to the other points, we are talking about the equality gender bias. So nowadays, what I'm seeing is the gender biases with both women and men both equally are facing the issues, but men are not coming out with their issues. Like even in the corporates, they do also face the issues with what you're discussing about the senior levels going ahead of the curve. The top management are not giving the right option to do the things to the mid-senior level people. So this one point need to be taken where leadership skills are getting. There's no what
Kishore,
I observe is there's.
do you have a particular
Yeah.
question?
Uh, no,
Okay, I mean,
no,
if you want to
no.
discuss, then we can definitely take it offline, and I'm sure you have a lot of
Yeah,
points. But let's
yeah,
give a
yeah.
chance to somebody else who really has a question, right?
Okay, okay. Just one last question. So, so how gender bias is handled between both men and women? It's my question. So that's the reason I was just explaining in detail. I mean, at the top level. I'm talking about the top level.
There's no gender bias in the top level as far as I can say, Kishore. We don't. Have you ever seen, especially when you go up the ladder, people support each other? That's one of the reasons that I do encourage that more women and men are taking up the challenge of encouraging each other. I think we've discussed it in detail in our episode as well, where as you get higher, both Megan and I have had employers and mentors who have looked at us for the work that we do and not just for who we are and what we bring to. Yes, it's very, very evident that even today, to some extent, that as I said, we are a tribe basis, so we get into we understand our own tribe very well. Having said that, I think as you get higher into the executive roles, there is more and more campaigning for women and men equally on doing their job and being there for that job rather than who they are and what community they are from rather. Hopefully that made sense. I think the episodes are also on YouTube, so you can go back and see where we've discussed all of this.
Absolutely. I agree with Yasha here that there is no gender bias at the top level. That's the thing. Once you reach there, there is no bias. Then you are there in your professional capacity. And that is what we have been emphasizing all throughout these 5 episodes now. Fifth today is how to be that professional. And once you reach there, then you champion for others like you. So it is in your professional capacity, then it is not about bias. You uplift people based on their capabilities and what they are and their potential, and that is what is everyone is trying to do even at the mid senior level now. That is why we are having these conversations, because people and professionals need to project their professionalism, their potential, and not their genders anymore. We are outside that era, and we are just trying to leave even the tiniest bit of it behind. It's going to take a bit of time, but the conversations like these actually help in reaching that space. With that, I would say ask if anyone else has a question, please raise your hands. Otherwise, we are almost up with the time, so we'll wind up. We'll wait a minute if anybody else has a question. So no more questions. So in that, some small key takeaways for today would be that you need to have these priorities in life. Start with the clarity of your ambition if you really want to break the glass ceiling. Build your tribe and collaborate. Like Yasha said, you need to have the voice, the team. You need to work on yourself a lot if you need to really break the glass ceiling, because it's not somewhere everyone wants to go. And if you are here with that in your mind, then you need to put in the hard work for it for sure. And once you build that team, the support system, that will champion you when you are looking at that final journey and the final run to actually go there and excel there. So, with that, we come to an end for today's episode. Thank you, everyone who stayed till the end with us. And to all those even who joined earlier, thank you so much for your support. Until next time and next episode, here's us signing off. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaskaram.